Hey everybody, down here in the South, we say it's time to have a come to Jesus, and that time has come, and I need to sit and have a little chat with y'all. It will not come to any surprise to most of you that I am a giant Don Mattingly fan, huge fan, massive fan. Check out this awesome card from A Glove and Beyond TV. I love it. I love it. I love it. It is sick. Boom. But I'm not here to show off cards today, but we are here to talk about the man, the myth, the legend that is Donnie Baseball, the hitman, the captain, my favorite baseball player growing up, and it just stuck with me. Pretty much every day or close to it, I post a picture of a Don Mattingly card on my community page that I've added to my collection. And so every time I get a new one, I'll add it to my TCDb, and then I'll have it uploaded. And I have quite a few, and it's been super fun. It's something that I enjoy it quite a bit. Well, one of my posts, somebody said Don Mattingly, he's so overrated, and I thought to myself, a lot of people are like, he's not good enough to get in the Hall of Fame. He didn't have the numbers. He didn't have the longevity. He didn't have the World Series rings. I figured it was time to talk about it. It's time to talk about why. Why isn't he in there? A few things. One, there aren't any solid rules that baseball has laid out that says this is what you have to get in. It's all done by the writers voting. And of course, there's the Veterans Committee, and out of all of the Hall of Fames, and you can argue with me, and that's fine. None of this is going to hurt my feelings if we have a spirited debate. All of the Hall of Fames are a little more loosey-goosey about who gets in. Baseball is tough. It is tough to get into Cooperstown. You may not agree, but when I look at other people who get into like the NFL and the NBA Hall of Fames, I'm not even going to talk about like golf and stuff like that, just like the big ones. And there are a ton of Hall of Famers in like the NHL. Hockey's got a ton of Hall of Famers too. And I'm not going to say that people who make it into the Hall of Fame didn't have great careers, but are they the top 1% of the 1% of the 1%? I mean, baseball is tough. So I'll leave it at that. It's not easy to get in, which is probably why Don's not there. But are his numbers good enough to get in there? Baseball is all about analytics, all about the numbers. I'm a numbers guy. I think a lot of baseball people love the numbers. Let's crunch the numbers. What's great about the game of baseball, and I love it, is that it's over 100 years old, and the rules have basically stayed the same, right? On base percentage, your batting averages. There's so much that has stayed the same that you can compare today's ball players to yesteryear's ball players and kind of get a good feel of, hey, how would A-Rod have done back in 1915? 1915, they wouldn't have let him play, but you know what I mean. You can do the numbers, and it kind of works out. So what I've been wanting to do, and probably I thought about like a year ago, and I just got motivated by the dude saying Mattingly's overrated, is I sat down for like an hour today and crunched the numbers and made a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. And so I wanted to share that with you. My criteria for the numbers that I'm about to use are a finite, a closed period of time, looking at just who was elected into the Hall of Fame. And what I chose to use is the years that Donnie Baseball was on the ballot, which is 2001 through 2015. So I'm looking at everybody that got in those years, and just to compare and contrast. And Don is better than some in some categories, and not as good in some other categories. But what is it that's really holding him back? And I think different people have different opinions on why he's not in or can't get in. And I just kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. Is there truth in Don's not in because he only played for 14 years? Maybe. Is it true that he's not in because he didn't get a World Series ring? Maybe. He didn't even get to the World Series. He's probably the greatest Yankee to have never gotten to the World Series. Maybe. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better Yankee that never got to the big stage. A couple things to think about and to keep in mind is that you need 75% of the voting population, the Writers Association, to vote you in to actually get in. And the best year Don did was his very first year in 2001, when he scored 28% of the vote. That's not good. I remember him getting in because I was excited, because I was naive. I'm like, oh, Don's going to get in this year. It'll be amazing. Because in my head and in my heart, he's way up there. But the writers didn't agree. But then I'm like, you know what? He's got time. Maybe next year. And then it didn't happen. And now I'm like, well, maybe if he does well as a manager, he'll get in. But that's tough. That's a tough road. Don's got some cool streaks. He's tied with Travis Hafner, I think, for cool records, not streaks, for 6 Grand Slams in a season. Pretty awesome. He did it way before Hafner, like 20 years before Hafner did it. He also has the consecutive games streak, which is tied with Griffey, the kid, and that was, I wrote it down what year. No, I didn't. I thought I did. It's tied with Dale Long and Griffey, but Griffey would have done it like 15 years after Don did it. But 8 consecutive games with home runs. Pretty amazing. So let's, and then of course he was the captain from 91 to 95 when he retired. And the Yankees have retired his number 23. It's not just for Jordan. Donnie Baseball needs to be in that conversation too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with y'all, if I can get it to work. And let's look at some of my nerd go. The nerd is going. All right, so here we go. What we're going to look at, I tried to pull out some categories that I thought writers would look at. For example, longevity, hits, RBI, home runs, average, how many times they're an all-star, how many times they're an MVP, Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, batting champs, RBI leader. Right here we have the home run leader, how many times they won a World Series, how many rings you got. Rookie of the year, just because I thought, although it doesn't really matter for your stats, that might help influence some people if you happen to be Rookie of the Year. And then I also put in the Roberto Clemente Award. And I know you're like, well, why? It's just a random award. But I really think it holds a lot of weight. I think it's a really cool award. And I think it may influence some of the writers. So I did include that. And then, yeah, that's what I got. So here we go. Down here, of course, I color coordinated everything because I'm a super nerd. So how did Don do? Don played 14 years, 2,153 hits, just under 1,100 RBI, 222 home runs. You would think he'd have more, but I mean, his back really started messing him up. So it took away that power, but he's still a hit for average. Hit 307 over his career. Not bad. 6-time All-Star. 1-time MVP, 9-time Gold Glove. Don't mess with him on first base. 3 Silver Sluggers, 1 AL batting champ, 1 AL RBI leader. No rings, of course. No Clementes. He was not Rookie of the Year. Actually, I need to look up who was Rookie of the Year in '84. They missed the boat on that one. So let's look at it. 2001, the first year Donnie was eligible to get in. We had, and this, I should also say that just because we're looking at these other ball players, I am not suggesting that they are not worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. These are all really, really good ball players. So don't go, hey, Dave Winfield's amazing. I can't believe you said Don Mattingly should get in there and Dave shouldn't. I'm not saying that Dave Winfield was amazing. He was a mountain. He was fun to watch, and man, he could smack the ball. Kirby Puckett, amazing. Bill Maz, amazing. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Dave Winfield, 22 years, 3,100 hits. Good Lord. 1833 RBI, 465 home runs, 12 All-Stars. Look, 283 average. And you know what? Now that I'm doing this, I'm thinking nobody wants to see all of them, right? So I sat and took the time to do it. I also had who had their numbers retired. There's some Hall of Famers in here that don't have their numbers retired. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, so just looking at it real quick between Dave, Kirby, and Bill, green means they did better than Don. So 22 years versus the 14. But Kirby only played 12 years. That's 12 seasons, 2 fewer than Don. So that's actually a pretty interesting comparison since they're only 2 years apart. Kirby, of course, was amazing. What a freak of nature. He was just so good. 2,300 hits in 2 fewer years. 200 more hits or 150 more hits in 2 fewer years is nutso. Just slightly fewer RBI, fewer home runs. 318 batting average is nuts. Look at that, 12 years and 10 All-Star appearances. That is nuts. But no MVPs, only 6 Gold Gloves. Did get 6 Silver Sluggers, which seems like you should get more than that. The guy was amazing. Was a batting champ, RBI leader, and 2 rings. So Winfield's got 1, Puckett's got 2. Bill Maas has 2. He was great too. Of course, 17 years. But you can see what I'm doing is I'm taking all the Reds where Donnie was better, and you can see Bill, although he was a great ball player, that is a lot. Where Donnie baseball has better stats in fewer years. Bill had 3 extra years on Don to put up some numbers and still couldn't surpass him. Now, he did get him on All-Stars, but he's never an MVP. Lost on Gold Gloves. He had more time. So no batting championships, but 2 rings. That's big, man. 2 rings is big. So I did the same thing with Ozzie. And Ozzie Smith is amazing. So let's look at that. So Don was better at RBI. And again, 5 more seasons, Don still beat you with hits and average, MVPs, Silver Sluggers, batting champ. So I love Ozzie. Ozzie was fantastic, but he got 19 years and just barely only beat Don's hits by 300. Eddie Murray, man, that guy had massive power. Massive power. Of course, he's in the 500 home run club, which I love. Plus, he's in the 3,000 hit club. I think there's only 5 or 6 guys that are in that. That's what an amazing accomplishment. But the average isn't there, which is normal for home run hitters. Does have 2 extra All-Star appearances, but 6 fewer Gold Gloves. Don was a beast at first. But Don, although he had some amazing seasons, was never the home run leader, which is kind of surprising. Gary Carter, fantastic, played 18 years. But even though, again, he had 4 extra seasons on Don, still had fewer hits. 60 fewer hits with 4 extra seasons. That's nuts. So, you expect him with the extra at-bats, a lot of extra at-bats, to have much better numbers here than he does, really. Because, look, that's only 126 more RBI. That's nothing. Of course, Don could smack the ball 307. He could hit for average and hit for power and was a beast at first. 11 All-Star appearances, which you expect from the great Gary Carter. He was great. But look, 18 years, only 3 Gold Gloves. Come on now. Come on. So I did not do the pitchers because I didn't think they were fair comparisons. Paul Molitor, 21 years. Of course, Don's got him on the average. The rings. And not everybody has a World Series ring. So you can't say that you got in because you got more World Series. That's not true. Kirby Puckett got in, and he's got 2 fewer years. So you can't say it's longevity. You can't say it's hits because even with Don's short period in baseball, he still has more hits than Bill Maas, Ozzie Smith, and Gary Carter. That's not fair. You can't say it's because he's not getting RBI, because better than Kirby Puckett and Bill Maas and Wade Boggs and Ryan Sandberg. Look at that. And all these guys got more years on him. Home runs. I mean, he only played 14 years, got 222 home runs. But look, better than Puckett, better than Bill Maas, better than Wade Boggs. And I always thought, Wade Boggs is such a big guy. You would think he was hitting for power, but he's really hitting for average. Speaking of average or big guys, I mean, he's better than better than almost everybody here. I mean, the dude could hit. All-star appearances, he's hurt. I mean, that's where he only has 6, and that's rough. Everybody beats him on the all-star appearances. But that's not on my list because I kept going down. I did not include Negro League. So look, here's Tony Gwynn in 2007 and Cal Ripken Jr., both absolutely amazing, absolutely worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. First ballot, no question in my mind. They were fantastic. But it's not green across the board. It's just not. Don Mattingly was a beast. He 14 years and was a beast. But look, no, less Gold Gloves. Cal Ripken, 2-time MVP. That guy was just awesome. All-Stars, 19-time All-Star for Cal. That is nuts. Tony Gwynn, one of the best hitters I've ever seen as far as connecting the ball and getting on base. 338 is nuts. So executives, Goose is a pitcher. I did not include Billy because Billy played from 1913 to 1929. I didn't think that was a fair comparison. Dick Williams played ball. He played 13 years as a player, but I really think he mostly got him as a manager, so I didn't include him. Joe Gordon was a great ball player, but played in the 30s and 50s, and he was a solid manager. Ricky Henderson, Ricky being Ricky. This is 2009. Of course, Ricky played forever. You know what? He's probably still playing somewhere, honestly. Of course, known for his stolen bases and his hits. But look at that. More home runs, more RBI, more hits. 10-time All-Star. Did not get him on the average. Donnie's got more Gold Gloves. And Ricky's got two rings. So they both have 3 Silver Sluggers. Jim Rice, 16 years. Okay, so 2 more years. So 2 more years and 300 more hits. I mean, that's okay. RBIs, nice RBIs. A lot more home runs. Again, average is pretty comparable. 307 to 298. 2 extra All-Star games. Donnie took him on Gold Gloves for sure. 9 Gold Gloves versus Jim Rice's 0. 1 extra Silver Slugger. Has batting champs, batting, and Jim Rice does not have a World Series. And I don't think Boston did. I was going to say Boston didn't even retire his number, but they did. He was 3-time home run leader, 1-time RBI leader, but these are good. I mean, he could hit the ball, but he doesn't have any Gold Gloves. None. I mean, Don's got 9 and doesn't even get more than like 20% voting. 9. More silver, 1 more Silver Slugger. I think that's a pretty good comparison because Donnie, if he had 2 extra years, and I'm not saying, and I'm going to say, hey, I get it. You play the hand you're dealt. And just because guys are able to play 30 years doesn't mean they should get in the Hall of Fame. But what I'm saying is that the Hall of Fame doesn't have any kind of rule in place that says you have to play 16 years to get into the Hall of Fame. That's not in there. It's not in there. They don't have it. So it's all opinions. And what my opinion is that he's just as good. I don't want to say better, but he's as good as a lot of these guys. All right. And if he hadn't gotten hurt, and I know it's wishful thinking that he would have surpassed number-wise a lot of these players. But he only had 14 years, but his numbers were amazing. Andre Dawson, the Hawk, fantastic. 21 years in the league. Donnie's got him on average. Donnie's got him on Gold Gloves and the batting titles. But the Hawk was great. The Hawk was great. Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers, they mean something. MVP awards mean something. All-Star appearances are voting. I mean, we're talking about people who are voting Hall of Fame with their pen, not necessarily with the numbers. Doug Harvey, umpire. White Herzog, pitcher. Okay, Robbie Alomar, 17 years, 3 more years, a lot more hits. So 600 more hits-ish. Not a whole lot more RBIs though, and Donnie was on some pretty rough teams. Donnie's got more home runs in 3 fewer years, a better average, although having a career 300 batting average is nothing to scoff at. That's really good. Robbie got 6 more All-Stars, 1 more Gold Glove, 1 more Silver Slugger, and a huge one is the 2 rings. Blyleven, pitcher. Pat Gillick as an executive. Barry Larkin. Okay, Barry's got 4 more years. Fewer RBIs. Fewer home runs. Worse batting average. 6 fewer Gold Gloves. Got 4 more years. Okay, he did get 1 ring. And he got a Roberto Clemente award. I just think that's a cool award. Come on. I mean, and nobody's like, oh, Barry shouldn't get in. And they're not even giving Don a second look. Really? Ron Santo, great ball player. I can hear Vince yelling at me already. 1 extra year. And now there is also a pretty good gap difference between, playing in the 80s and playing in the 60s. But let's look at it. 1 extra year. Ron got 100 more hits, which Don would have got if he got 1 more year, theoretically. A lot more RBI. Man, this Cubs were scoring back then. A lot more home runs. Worse batting average. 3 fewer All-Stars. 1 less MVP. 4 fewer Gold Gloves. They did not have the Silver Slugger Award when he was playing, so I didn't include that. Yeah, but no rings. He doesn't have a World Series ring. Of course, he's a Cub, so they don't go to the World Series very often. Says the Rangers fan. Hank O'Day played in the 1800s. Executive. Deacon White. He was great. He was a good ball player and a manager, but again, 1800s. I didn't count that. Bobby Cox is in as a manager. Tom and Greg, awesome pitchers. LaRussa's as a manager. Frank Thomas. Oh, crap. I didn't do Frank Thomas. I should have included Frank. Dang it. I'll go back and look at that one. Joe Torre. Joe Torre, people think of him as a manager because that's what you think of him as recently. He was a really good baseball player. Really good. Let's look at Frank the Tank real quick. We already know he's in the 500 home run club. Guy was amazing. And being a DH for quite a bit of his career sure saved his body. All right, so 5-time All-Star, fewer. 2-time MVP, 1 better. 4 sluggers. I think Don's got, what do you got, Don? Don's only got 3, so 1 better. 1 AL batting champion, that's the same. He's in the 500. Where we go? 521 home runs, amazing. 301 batting average, really, really good. Don's better. More hits. I mean, you expect that. 1704 for the RBI. What's Don got? 1099. So, I mean, all of that is in line with a fantastic hitter with some great longevity. I mean, he played from 90 to, yeah, dude, he played forever. So, I mean, it's 18 seasons. And it's amazing how as big as he was that his body was able to do that for 18 seasons. Okay, so I missed that one. My bad. But Joe Torre, great. Even though he was great, Don's better average. 8 more Gold Gloves, 3 more Silver Sluggers championship, but doesn't have the rings. Joe Torre got 4 rings. And then I finished it off with Biggio from 2015. He had 20 years under his belt. Of course, the hits and the RBI were going to be there. But really, look at that. That's 76 more RBI, 76 in 6 more years. Come on. Home runs, I mean, beat Don by, 80. But again, 6 more years. Don's got a better batting average. Craig Bishi only has 1 extra All-Star appearance. And now you're like, well, Mattingly was a Yankee. The Yankees always get preferential treatment. I'm not even necessarily a big Yankees fan. I appreciate the history of the team. Certainly appreciate it how they have impacted the game. I mean, I don't know how you can hate the Yankees. Although they are the evil empire, I get it. They spend lots of money. But these days, so are the Dodgers. So are the Rangers. Are they all the evil empire? Maybe. Especially to Oakland. Again, 6 more years, 5 fewer Gold Gloves. 5. Bicho get a ring? He got a Clemente Award. No rings for old Craig. So you can't say it's Craig. Okay, so that's kind of the long version, but I did break it down a little bit so we can look at it and just how he ranks compared to the 20. And again, I messed up by not including Frank. I just skipped over him. So longevity, if I compare him to within all 20 players, he's next to worst. He's only under Kirby Puckett. So at 19 out of 20, if longevity is the indicator. Hits, again, that's going to go with longevity because he just didn't get as many at-bats. He's 18 out of 20. RBI, 14 out of 20. Home run, 13 out of 20. So even with the limited at-bats, he's still about halfway average with what we're talking about is the best of the best of the best. Average says, hold on, what am I doing here? Batting average is 307, so that puts him in 4th place. Batting average is important. I do think more at bats, obviously, you have a chance of dropping that, unless you're Ted Williams, who just keeps getting better. All-Star appearances, he's dead last in All-Star appearances. That's a tough one. That's really, really hard. And if All-Star appearances is the indicator, absolutely he's not the best. Tough. But he's towards the bottom, towards the middle, right at the top for average. All-Star, awful. MVPs, he's tied for 2nd, but it's tied with 7 people. Gold Gloves tied for 3rd with two people, or him and somebody else. Silver Sluggers, 13 out of 18, so towards the bottom. 18 instead of 20 because Bill Maz and Ron Santo played before the Silver Slugger was an award, so I don't include them. As far as the batting championships, tied for 3rd with 2 other guys. RBI leaders tied for 2nd with 6 other people. So, I mean, those are kind of weird when you look at it like that. 7 of these 20 players do not have a World Series ring. So you can't say he's not there because he didn't get a ring, because that's not fair. Because that's not fair. That sounded like a kid. Yeah. Only 3 people got the Rookie of the Year, so maybe that influenced some people, but I don't know. 8 people had the Roberto Clemente Award. I just think it's cool. I think that might influence some writers, so that's why I put it in there. Don doesn't have one. Yeah, so that's good. And then I have one more slide to show you, and this one I think is interesting. So if you're like, well, Don didn't have the productivity. Well, here, let me just say, what I did here is I took the big ones, hits, RBI, and home run, and I divided them by years played to just look at how productive they were year over year throughout their career. And what I find is for hits, Don would have averaged 154 per season, which puts him 7 out of 20. RBI, 79 per season, he averaged 7 out of 20. And home runs, he would have averaged 16 per season, and that's right in the middle at 10 out of 20. So what I'm trying to say is that we're looking at the most elite ball players in history that get into this very, very elite club. And to say that Don's shouldn't even be considered, like obviously they ignored him because he doesn't have his numbers aren't good enough. I don't see it. I don't see it. When we're talking about his average for years, he's right in the middle or towards the top. If you average his throughout his career, the one thing that really hurts him, and the only thing he's dead last in is All-Star appearances. But when you look at guys who have a ton more years, a ton more at bats, and even like Kirby, who's got 2 fewer years under his belt, Don's right in there. I mean, none of them had just crush him. Even the guys who have like 10 more years than Don, they're not crushing him on the stats. So what does that say? In conclusion, I know I've just rambled on, but what I'm trying to say is that Don should be in the conversation for elite ball players. I do feel like he got snubbed for the Hall of Fame. Sorry, my phone died. In conclusion, I was just wrapping it all up. I feel like Don doesn't get enough credit for all of his accomplishments and accolades, and I think he's slowly getting forgotten because he just hasn't played in a long time. And there have been new exciting Yankees. I mean, Jeter came on. They're like, whoa, we forgot about everybody who came before Jeter. And now you have Judge and Soto's crushing it. And baseball is exciting. I mean, there's a lot of very talented people playing today. But I just, maybe because he's my guy, I still remember the greatness that is Donnie Baseball. And so what I would contend is next time you think, hey, he's just not good enough because he didn't have the years, or he didn't have the World Series rings, or he didn't have enough whatever. What hurt him, from what I can tell, is the fewest number of All-Star games. And that goes along with his longevity, certainly, his injury, certainly. But other than that, as far as the 20 elite baseball players that were inducted into the Hall of Fame, right when he's in there, he's at least in the conversation. So I know other great ball players feel like they get snubbed, and there's other ball players that will probably never get in. And Donnie's probably one of them. He'll never get in. The people are like, oh, he's in the Hall of Very, Very Good, and he was very, very good. But I think the numbers show that he's better than very, very good. That's it. Thanks for paying attention and hanging out with me for a little bit. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent, but Donnie Baseball, he's my dude. He's my dude. I love this card. Love this hobby. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Don Mattingly. The fans want a dinger out of him. This one by Mattingly. Oh!